Hello everyone, this is Gaston, and today we are tackling the myth of 7-Eleven. During this series of videos, we've talked about some of the pillars of the AM way to play. First, we encouraged players to be hobby-minded, build, base, and paint. Make your army something you're proud to put on the table. Second, we talked about playing deliberately, making thoughtful moves instead of relying on instinct or panic reactions. Today, we're introducing the third pillar, resiliency. Being mentally resilient means not letting bad dice, misplays, or weird situations ruin your game. It helps you recover, refocus, and keep both you and your opponent enjoying the experience, because no one wants to play against a walking salt shaker. So what is tilting? Tilting is that moment when you go from strategic commander to angry potato. It's frustration, anger, or emotional loss of control that makes your gameplay worse and your decision-making crumble. Now, tilting is a broad topic. We're going to narrow it down today to a single aspect, those pesky dice cubes. So let's pull up a stool and turn that army of frown into an army of renown. Lord. It's been my experience that most tilt comes from a gap between expectations and outcomes. We expect a result, don't get it, and our brains short-circuit. And here's the kicker. Humans are terrible at predicting dice rolls. Like Cador weather forecast terrible. Now, quick disclaimer. I'm going to round a few numbers here just to keep things clear and easy. Warmachine uses a 2-dice system, boosted to 3 dice, forming that nice bell curve that we all love. It's one of the selling points of the game. Players often use shorthand like 7 on 2 dice, 11 on 3, because those are the most common results. People will plan entire assassination runs based on those numbers. And I'm here to tell you, 7-Eleven is a myth. Now here's why. For that bell curve to actually mean anything statistically, you'd need to roll at least 30 times, and the mathematically minded of us would probably prefer 50 to 100. That's fine in Warhammer, where you're rolling buckets of dice. But in Warmachine, each model maybe gets 3 or 4 swings if you're using focus. Consider this situation, purely hypothetical of course. This totally never happens to me, I swear. You charge, you need a 6 to hit, and you roll a 5. You buy an attack, and you roll a 4. You buy another attack, you roll a 5 again, and you buy your last attack, and by this time I tend to attack roll my dice across the room. Now if I had 30 attacks, the highs and lows would average out. But with 3 or 4 rolls, my predictive math is about as useful as, well, Signar. Or here's another fun one that you've definitely had happen to you. You roll a 12 to hit, and then snake eyes for damage. Your next roll is a great hit, and then your next roll is garbage damage. It's frustrating, and those moments build up until tilt can set in. So now that we've established dice are fickle little Grimkin, how do we actually mentally deal with it? Well, instead of thinking about dice as discrete averages, 60%, 70%, I want you to imagine Warmachine probabilities as a dartboard. Picture alternating red and black slices. Red for failure, black for success. And if you need a 7 or higher, 60% of that dartboard is black, and 40% is red. Now if we look at this picture, that's actually an awful lot of red. And I don't know about you, but I'm not exactly a pro at darts. I'm happy just hitting the board. So if 1 dice roll equals 1 dart throw, you're only getting 1 shot with your attack roll. All of a sudden, that 40% red section, that feels huge. Rather than obsessing over our average chances of success, instead we should focus on reducing our chances of failure. It's a bit of a mental shakeup. Now when we were talking about needing a 7 to hit, let's look at what happens when you add 2 to your mat or rat. Now, only a 2, 3, or 4 will miss, and that dartboard just got a lot more black and a lot less red. It feels a lot more comfortable when you look at it. And when you only get to throw a single dart each time, again, we want to shrink that red zone rather than gambling on a bunch of sequential, reasonable rolls. Don't assume rolls in terms of 7s and 11s. I want you to think about what this dartboard actually looks like every single time we make an attack. And on the flip side, force your opponent to roll more dice. Even reasonable odds can crumble under volume. The more dice they have to roll for a plan, the more likely something goes wrong for them. Now that we've done enough math to make your cortex hum, let's get some quick tabletop rules of thumb. Now, despite how we all talk about the game, the real inflection point in Warmachine isn't actually 7, it's 6. So if you're having to prioritize or choose between buffing to hit or buffing damage, use these rules. If you need a 7 or higher to hit, prioritize at +2 mat or +2 rat. If you need a 5 or less, prioritize the damage. And if you need a 6, we're going to let damage decide for us. If your POW minus their arm is pretty close or ±1, we're going to go ahead and go for accuracy. Otherwise, buff your damage. And there it is, the myth of 7-Eleven debunked. Just because they're always open doesn't mean you have to buy what they're selling. But hey, don't forget to buy what we're selling. Like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Did this way of visualizing dice rolls help you? Or are you still staring at those traitorous little cubes, plotting your revenge?